Today, I will be explaining Bloodborne's hardest bosses from both the DLC and the main game, ranging from the bloodletting beast all the way to Martyr Logarius, starting off with Rom, the vacuous spider. Rom sits at the bottom of Moonside Lake in Bergenvurt, and calling her vacuous is the game's idea of a joke. You fight a great one surrounded by an army of smaller spiders that exist solely to ruin your day. The challenge isn't Rom herself, it's managing 20 spiderlings while avoiding arcane meteors that rain from the sky. Rom has 3 phases, and each one introduces teleportation, more spiders, and increasingly aggressive magic attacks. The ice barrages come in 2 flavors: upward launches that track your position, and downward slams that punish staying still. Her body slam has deceptive range, and if you're close when she does her melee explosion, you're done. Most players clear the spiderlings first, then hit Rom's sides and rear with bolt paper. Some skip the ads entirely and rush her down with charged R2 attacks to interrupt teleports, but that takes timing and nerves most people don't have on their first attempt. Rom hides the blood moon in the lore, which makes this cosmic spider more important than she looks. The chaos of this fight, ads everywhere, meteors falling, limited visibility, makes it memorable, even if it's not the hardest on this list. Bloodletting Beast. The Bloodletting Beast shows up in Yahar'gul and various Chalice dungeons, and it teaches one lesson: don't get greedy. This massive creature punishes aggressive play with combos that have more range than they should. That stomp attack looks short, but it'll hit you from halfway across the arena. The multi-hit combinations delete health bars if you try to heal at the wrong time. The Chalice variants, especially the headless version in FRC dungeons, add grab attacks that seem to ignore physics entirely. You hit once, maybe twice, then you back off. Staying behind helps, but overcommitting gets you killed. Fire and serrated weapons work well because it's a beast, but weapon choice won't save bad positioning. The Bloodletting Beast is about discipline, knowing when damage isn't worth the risk. Phase doesn't exist here in the traditional sense. The beast just gets more aggressive as the fight goes on. The lore calls it a transformed healer, which adds the usual Bloodborne tragedy to a fight that's really just about patience and spacing. Watchdog of the Old Lords. The Watchdog of the Old Lords lives in the Thumaru and Defiled Chalice dungeons, and it has the highest HP pool in any Soulsborne game. In the Defiled Chalice, your health gets cut in half, which means almost every attack becomes a one-shot. The flaming charge that's manageable in normal circumstances kills you instantly here. The hitboxes are rough, the camera struggles with the size, and the fight has 3 phases that add explosions and faster charges as it progresses. The 50% health explosion catches people off guard every time. The bite and flame combos require precise dodging, and there's not much room for error in the cramped arena. You either bait bite attacks from the side and punish the legs and head, or you cheese it from range with Simon's Bowblade. Serrated weapons deal bonus damage, but getting close enough to use them consistently without dying takes practice. This isn't a complex fight mechanically, it's just execution under extreme pressure. One mistake ends the attempt, and in Cursed Dungeons, mistakes are easy to make. The Watchdog is an ancient fiery guardian in the lore, but mostly it's just a wall of HP that punishes impatience. Ebrietas, Daughter of the Cosmos. Ebrietas waits at the Altar of Despair in Upper Cathedral Ward, and she's an optional great one that most players wish stayed optional. The challenge is unpredictability, mixed with devastating arcane power. Her head back charge comes from any angle with almost no warning. The Frenzy Grab has deceptive range and tracking. Phase 2 is where things get brutal. She gains A Call Beyond, the same arcane missile spell that one-shots players throughout the game. She casts it frequently, and if you're caught in the open, you're dead. The strategy involves positioning near her tail and hitting her weak head and chest with bolt or thrust damage. Bolt paper R2 spam works. Shooting her head with a cannon when she drops low opens visceral opportunities. But maintaining position while avoiding charges, tentacle swipes, and arcane explosions requires constant attention. The camera fights you the entire time because she's massive, and the arena isn't. Her nebula-like mouth and cosmic design reinforce that she's a true great one, something beyond comprehension that you're somehow expected to kill. The fight rewards 6 insight total, which fits the cosmic horror theme. Ebrietas is unpredictable chaos, wrapped in one-shot potential. Martyr Logarius. Martyr Logarius sits on the roof of Canehurst Castle, and he's broken more controllers than most base game bosses. The fight starts with ranged magic harassment mixed with melee aggression, then completely changes when he enrages. If you don't interrupt the enrage ritual, his speed and damage multiply. The swirling skull tracers track relentlessly across the rooftop. The leaping smashes cover massive ground and deal crushing damage. You need to stay close to pressure him, interrupt his buff attempts with backstabs, and use well-timed gunshots to stagger him in Phase 2. Dodging into his leaps creates punish windows, but mistiming means eating a full combo. The 3 phases, Magic Focus, Enrage Ritual, Aerial Assault demand adaptability you might not have when you first reach Canehurst. As the executioner leader who warred against the Vile Bloods, Ligarius represents fanatical devotion taken to its logical extreme. His refusal to die, even centuries later, mirrors his unwavering commitment. The Court of the Eye rune is your reward, but most people remember this fight for the difficulty spike it represents in the base game. Gehrman, the First Hunter. Gehrman is the final boss if you reject his offer in the Hunter's Dream, and he fights like a player character with all the best tools. He has speed, aggression, weapon variety, and one-shot potential. The 3 phases escalate from scythe combat to sword and gun combinations, ending with the quickening form where he becomes almost too fast to track. The scythe charge combo has tight parry windows. Wind gusts keep you at range. The End of Nightmare AoE in Phase 3 demands precise positioning. His gunshots interrupt healing attempts, and he punishes hesitation with devastating combos. This fight rewards players who mastered Bloodborne's parry system and learned to play aggressively without being reckless. The lore makes it tragic. Gehrman is the trapped first hunter seeking release from eternal duty. You're not just fighting a boss, you're granting mercy to someone who taught you everything. The duel itself is pure Bloodborne. Fast, aggressive, unforgiving. He fights exactly like you do, but better. The Hunter's Mark is your reward, but the real payoff is proving you learned his lessons well enough to surpass the teacher. Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower. Lady Maria appears after you clear the living failures, and she's the hunter duel everyone remembers. Fast, elegant, and absolutely merciless. Phase 1 is a pure Rikuyo duel testing your fundamentals. Phase 2 adds blood-coated weapons with extended range, forcing you to recalibrate spacing mid-fight. Phase 3 introduces fire and levitation, leaving burning trails that chip health and limit movement. Her lunging cross-slash closes distance instantly. The overhead firearm combo catches panic rolls. The heavy twin blade strikes stagger on contact. Every phase makes her faster and more aggressive. You can parry her throughout the fight, which is the main strategy most players use. Dodging left works better than right. R1 spam can stagger her. Beast Roar creates openings. Successful visceral attacks skip entire phases if you land them at the right health thresholds. The fight is 3 escalating tests of the same skills. Timing, spacing, aggression management. Maria is the inspiration for the doll, has vile blood connections, and attempted suicide to escape the fishing hamlet's horrors. Defeating her forces those memories back. The Celestial Dial is your reward, but the fight itself is the real prize. It's Bloodborne's combat system at peak execution. Ludwig, the Accursed. Ludwig is the first major boss in the Old Hunters DLC, and he sets the difficulty tone immediately. This legendary hunter turned beast represents everything brutal about the DLC's spike in challenge. Phase 1 is relentless chaos. His twisted beast form charges across the entire arena, with attacks that seem to have infinite range. Multi-hit combos shred health bars. The arena-wide leap gives no safe positioning. You're fighting a creature whose aggression never stops, forcing constant movement and split-second decisions. Phase 2 brings the Holy Blade, and Ludwig regains some humanity. Attacks become more deliberate, but gain AoE sword beams and potential one-shot damage. He's parryable now, which gives skilled players an opening, but those sword strikes still demand respect. The contrast between bestial frenzy and graceful swordsmanship creates 2 distinct challenges requiring different approaches. Phase 1 strategy involves baiting attacks and hitting his tail. Phase 2 rewards aggressive parrying and staying close despite the danger. Serrated weapons and bolt damage exploit his weaknesses, but preparation doesn't prevent the terror of his Phase 1 leaps. Ludwig was a blinded hunter seeking light in the nightmare, and the Holy Blade he retrieves represents his lost humanity. His dying words reveal a hero corrupted by the beast scourge he fought against. You get the Holy Blade as a reward, and you'll have earned it. Lawrence, the first vicar. Lawrence is in the Grand Cathedral in the Hunter's Nightmare, and he's essentially the cleric beast, but worse in every way. Massive AoEs with questionable hitboxes, an enormous health pool that turns this into a war of attrition, and a third phase introducing lava trails that make backstabs impossible. This fight tests patience more than skill. You chip away at a boss that seems to never die while avoiding fire damage from every direction. Phase 1 resembles a flaming cleric beast, already challenging. Phase 2 increases aggression and damage. Phase 3 is the nightmare. He loses his legs and crawls, leaving lava trails everywhere. The crawling pound rush and sticky fist pound explosion one-shot high vitality builds. The camera struggles with his size. The hitboxes feel inconsistent. The lava damage punishes positioning mistakes with percentage-based health drain. You summon Vulture for support, attack once or twice from behind or the side, then retreat. Circle clockwise in the final phase to avoid lava pools. The Whirligig Saw's continuous damage helps, but helps is relative when facing Lawrence. Physical damage works better than Bolt or Arcane. Pistol shots stagger his head. None of it makes this fight enjoyable. It's just endurance. Lawrence was the first Vicar, now a burned shell trapped in the Nightmare, serving as a warning about Blood Ministration's blasphemy. The Radiance Rune is your reward for finishing this slog. Orphan of Kos. The Orphan of Kos waits at the fishing hamlet coast, and it's the hardest boss in Bloodborne. No debate. This fight demands mastery of every skill the game taught you, then adds mechanics you've never seen. The Orphan is extremely aggressive with unpredictable lightning-fast attacks. Phase 1 tests dodging and spacing with brutal melee combos using its placenta weapon. Phase 2 adds flight, lightning strikes, and enhanced attacks that one-shot even prepared hunters. The lightning waves from its anguished screech cover huge areas. Aerial projectiles rain down while you're dodging melee strikes. Jumping combos cross the arena in seconds, giving almost no reaction time. Every attack feels designed to catch you mid-dodge, mid-heal, or mid-attack. The pressure never stops. You stay at mid-close range on the Orphan's left side. Dodge into attacks, not away from them, which goes against instinct. Parry overhead strikes when possible. Heal only during Phase 2 shockwaves when you have guaranteed safety. Fight on the water for better footing than the shore. The Orphan is parryable, vulnerable to serrated weapons and physical damage, and can be staggered with heavier weapons in Phase 1. These weaknesses barely matter when the boss moves this fast and hits this hard. Mistakes mean instant death. You get the Kos Parasite weapon and 2 insight for winning, but the real reward is the lore implications. This is the orphaned child of Kos, a being whose existence represents the old hunter's sins. Defeating the Orphan eases Gehrman's suffering in the lore, suggesting this fight is about putting to rest the consequences of humanity's greatest atrocity. It's the perfect final challenge for a DLC that refuses to pull punches. Defiled Watchdog of the Old Lords. The Defiled Watchdog is the watchdog of the Old Lords, but in the Defiled Chalice, where your health is permanently halved. Same boss, different nightmare. This variant sits on Layer 2 of the Cursed Dungeon, and it still has the highest HP pool in any Soulsborne game. Every attack that was dangerous before now kills you in one hit. The flaming charge that opens the fight is an instant death sentence if it connects. The 50% health explosion catches you the same way, but now there's no surviving it with a sliver of health. Lava vomit pools cover the floor. Snapping bites come in chains. Stomps have more range than they should. The 3 phases add increasing fire bursts and aggression. And the deceptive hitboxes make spacing harder than it needs to be. You bait bites to get head-over-head openings and break the head for vulnerability windows. Sidestepping charges works if your timing is perfect. Shattering knees creates stun opportunities. Serrated weapons like the Whirligig Saw or Ludwig's Holy Blade deal bonus damage. Range strategies with Simon's Bowblade let you avoid the chaos entirely, but most players just summon for distraction and prey. Greed after the explosion phase kills more attempts than anything else. The Cursed Sharp Damp Blood Gem and Defiled Root Chalice are your rewards for enduring this. The Watchdog is an ancient sentinel of the Old Lords in the lore, but in practice it's just a numbers check that punishes any mistake with instant death. Living Failures. Living Failures appear in the Lumenwood Garden at the top of the research hall, and the name is accurate. These failed celestial experiments share a health pool, which sounds manageable until you realize they respawn and surround you constantly. 4 of them spawn initially, and they use melee attacks that slow your movement while cosmic projectiles come from every angle. Phase 2 hits around 60% health and introduces meteor storms that can be interrupted but repeat throughout the fight. The meteors overwhelm unprepared players, and NG plus HP bloat makes this fight drag longer than it should. You kill the casters first because they're the ones launching cosmic missiles and astral orb explosions. Camping counterclockwise near spawn points helps manage the swarm. Yamamura can be summoned for backstab opportunities. Bolt damage, especially from Tonatrus, staggers them effectively. Bolt paper with heavy weapons works. Rapid poison procs on the shared health pool, which some players cheese. Shaman Blade causes infighting if you can land it. The tree and door provide meteor cover if you position correctly. The real challenge is tracking multiple enemies while avoiding headbutts, slams, and projectiles from off-screen. The Astral Clock Tower key is your reward for beating these malformed scholars' rejects. They're failed experiments with cosmic ties, which explains the meteor spam. The fight itself is chaos management, not mechanical difficulty. Amygdala, FRC Chalice variant. Amygdala shows up in the Defiled Chalice Layer 3 and the base game's Nightmare Frontier, but the FRC Chalice variant is where the difficulty spikes. Smaller arena, hyper-aggression, one-shot everything. Phase 3 introduces frenzy-inducing slams, and the jump mechanic has bugs that make it unreliable. Amygdala is a great one, weak to arcane, fire, and bolt damage. A call beyond stuns it. Bleeding out limbs creates openings. The 3 phases escalate at 30% health when it rips off its own arms and gains AoE blasts. Phase 3 adds constant stomps and jumps that cover the arena. The stomps hit harder than they look. The exploding laser tracks across the floor. Acid vomit pools force movement. Arm flails and pincer swipes have longer reach than the camera shows. You camp the tail and bait jumps for charged R2 head hits. A call beyond, or Ko's Parasite L2, attacks cheese from range. Cannon shots and Tonatrus to the headwork if you can close distance safely. Staying center avoids jump bugs, but center is relative in the cramped FRC arena. The Ailing Lauren Chalice is your reward if you're doing Chalice progression. Amygdala represents fear and brain-related Grade 1 aspects in the lore, which fits its design. The fight is less about strategy and more about patience, baiting the same attack repeatedly until the health pool finally depletes. Abhorrent Beast. The Abhorrent Beast is an Ailing Loran Layer 3 and Lower Loran Layer 2, and it's the Suspicious Beggar's true form if you've met him in the main game. This Chalice boss has a combo variety that punishes healing attempts with rush attacks. The hitboxes are poor, the arms feel elongated, and the tiny room makes the camera struggle. 3 phases increase combo follow-ups, and add leap slams with lightning AoE below 50% health. The rush swipe specifically triggers when you try to heal, which feels like the game reading your inputs. Ground blasts and lightning cover the floor. Multi-slash combos come faster than you can react. The leap slam has almost no telegraph. You flank and dodge while throwing poison knives, then strafe to avoid follow-ups. Summoning Vitus helps. Not healing at all removes the rush trigger. Quick weapons let you circle clockwise for hit-and-run tactics. Severing the head and arms creates brief vulnerability windows. The Lower Loran Chalice and Bolt Damp Blood Gem are your rewards for clearing this lightning-coated mutation. The Abhorrent Beast is aggressive, unpredictable, and fights dirty. The combination of tight space, extended reach, and heal punishment makes this one of the more frustrating Chalice encounters. Pthumerian Descendant. The Pthumerian Descendant appears in Central Pthumeru Layer 3 and Great Pthumeru Ahil Layer 1, and it's a speedy warrior that fights like a player character with better frame data. Hyper-fast combos, constant dodges, wall-piercing boomerang throws. The narrow Ahil arena makes the camera clip constantly. Phase 2 starts at 50% health when it pulls out dual shotels and adds jumps with X-slashes. The boomerang toss ignores walls and tracks you across the arena. Rushing combos chain into each other. Golf swings have weird hitboxes. Even after a visceral attack, it immediately follows up with a slash that catches panic heals. The Descendant is weak to arcane and fire damage. Blunderbuss staggers it out of attacks. You trap it against walls for blunderbuss shots into visceral chains if your timing is perfect. Lead Elixir gives you poise to trade. Beast Roar creates stagger opportunities. Parrying charges works, but requires reading the input. Augur of Ebrietis and Hunter tools poke from safe range. The Tempering Damp Blood Gem and Cursed Cold Blood Gem are your rewards for dealing with this fire-susceptible Pthumerian air. The fight is fast, punishing, and designed to test your reaction time more than your build. It's not the hardest Chalice boss, but it's one of the most aggressive. And that's just a few of the hardest bosses in Bloodborne. If you enjoyed this video and want to see Skyrim's most disturbing mysteries explained, click the video on the screen now.